Ladies and gentlemen, live from Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. It's Wednesday or Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for AEW Dynamite or Collision Event Center. And now here's the man that will bring you the happenings of AEW All Elite Wrestling action, Mr. Eric M. Lima. Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans, 1977, episode 2162 of the show. And this is AEW Dynamite Event Center for April the 9th, 2025. It is 10:34 p.m. As you know, it's the fallout from Dynasty, ladies and gentlemen. And not a lot of folks are very happy. And, you know, when I said this about Lima Don't Play That, not a lot of folks are very happy about the Young Bucks making their return. And it seems like, and the Death Riders did address what happened on Dynasty, and they were warning the Young Bucks, stay out of our way. And then Katsuyori Shibata took on Jon Moxley in a non-title matchup, and this was a heck of a matchup, but Jon Moxley ended up winning the matchup. And as Moxley, Marine, Shafir were in the ring triumphant over Shibata, the Young Bucks come out. And the Young Bucks come out, and then Moxley and Shafir walk away, and then they address the Baltimore crowd talking, because we don't want Swerve to be the champion, and they're all talking smack, and they still think that we're back and everything else, and they're bragging, but then all of a sudden here comes Kenny Omega. And what Kenny Omega was telling them, they said, they were comparing it to a friend of his playing video games, and their pets keep dropping dookies on the rug, and the owner doesn't care, and it gets to the point where he said, "Bro, let's do this at my place," and see that's what you guys been doing ever since I've been gone, and he's making fun of the Young Bucks. It seems like Kenny Omega's not very happy with the Young Bucks, and you know what? I agree with Kenny Omega for once. Thank you, Kenny Omega. I think he finally realized, I think hanging out with Don Callis is more snakes in the grass. Between Don Callis and the Young Bucks, man, Don Callis, the hot dog head there, a little bit more on him. But the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega's finally gotten it right. He's finally made it. You almost destroyed this company. And you know what? If these, you're right. Because they drove Cody Rhodes out of, Kenny Omega's right. They drove, the Young Bucks' antics and actions drove CM Punk out of AEW and drove Cody Rhodes back to the company where he first started. But Cody Rhodes is doing well. I mean, he says he hates, even Kenny Omega says that he helped build his soul into his company, and he said, and he said, we know why you're shredding documents, of all that money you can have for your, and you know what, it's about time that Kenny Omega tried to expose him, and they cut his mic off and everything else, and Kenny Omega was not very happy with the Young Bucks. And believe me, the Young Bucks are going to get theirs, and once they do, I'll tell you one thing, the Young Bucks better save all their money. They should have saved their money for health insurance. They're going to need it. That's for sure. But then he goes, you know what? I'm going to have to, and Kenny Omega goes, you know what? I might as well fight you guys. And he's about to battle the Young Bucks, and then Kazuchika Okada comes to the ring. Kazuchika Okada comes to the ring, but then Swerve Strickland came from behind with a steel chair. And then Swerve Strickland looks at Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega says, fine, you have the floor. I'll give you the floor. And then, and Swerve Strickland addresses the Baltimore crowd saying it's time for some buck hunting season. But then Pac jumps him from behind and jumps Swerve Strickland from behind. And they set up their matchup, Strickland versus Pac, and Strickland ended up winning the matchup. Meanwhile, there is two teams cutting promos for the $400 $400,000 Explosion 8-man tag team matchup. On one team, Ricochet, the Beast Mortos, and Crew. That's a team of Leo Rush and Action Andretti. Going up against, so they had their say about what they want to do with the money. And it seems like Ricochet wants the money all for himself. But then the team, Will Ospreay's team of Will Ospreay, Speedball Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Mark Briscoe. And then he asked him what he's going to do with his $100,000. Will Ospreay goes, Disney World! Yep. Yeah, you're going to need that $100,000 with Disney World. And Mike Bailey says, need some shoes. Kevin Knight goes, this man didn't help out. He goes, what are you going to do? He's trying to do like a business investment with it. Hey, Mark Briscoe, hey, what do you know? And so they had their matchup, and that 8-man tag matchup, and Ospreay's team won it. So Will Ospreay's going to go to Disney World. Gotta love that. So the Hurt Syndicate was celebrating their tag team title victory over the Learning Trees, Big Bill and Brian Keith. More on them. MJF interrupts them. And MJF, they were talking about, hey, I want to be part of the group and everything else. Bobby Lashley wasn't seemed too pleased, and wasn't seemed too pleased about it. And he starts talking smack to Bobby Lashley. Lashley starts talking smack, and then Bobby Lashley says, "We don't need you. We're not having a fourth member." And then, as Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley walked away, so the MVP's like, oh. And MJF does not look very happy. Given recent actions by FTR, maybe it's about time that MJF, if MJF does not end up joining the Hurt Syndicate, I think FTR and MJF should reform the Pinnacle. That's what I would be thinking right now. If I were MJF, I'd be thinking, well, if the Hurt Syndicate's not going to make me a member, well, I'm going to make them pay for it. And if I were MJF, now I'm going to think like MJF for a minute, which I can't believe I'm doing, that Beavis-looking butthead. If I were MJF, I'd be thinking, since, he probably saw what happened with FTR. Maybe he's thinking about time and said, maybe I can reform the Pinnacle, make the Hurt Syndicate pay. Who knows? But a little bit more in that situation between MVP. So Renee Paquette interviewed Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne, which Megan Bayne, a little upset that she not walk out the Women's World Champion, but she says that she'd be in a collision to make everybody bow to the Megasis. Megan Bayne, what you need is a sword and yell by the honor of Grayskull and find somebody that looks like Hordak and beat him. That's how you She-Ra wannabe. You're beautiful, but you're a She-Ra wannabe. Anyways, Timeless Tony Storm, this woman, when she goes on commentary, who knows what goes out of that woman's beautiful mouth. As Chris Statlander, in the Women's Owen Hart Tournament, quarterfinal part 2, Chris Statlander went up against Thunder Rosa. And, oh my goodness, Tony Storm, she goes, well, the last time I faced Chris Statlander, she dropped me on my head and lost 3 inches. But when I saw Tony Schiavone, I got those 3 inches back. What in the world is that woman talking about? Oh my goodness. Holy Tony Storm, man. She cracks me up. She's beautiful, but she's entertaining. She's an entertaining lady. She's funny as heck. I can imagine if she was back in the WWE with the time was, but this time with the time was given, her and R-Truth interacting would be hilarious. Oh my goodness, it would be the most hilarious thing ever. Her and R-Truth. Imagine that. I miss R-Truth in the ring there. I hope he's okay. He follows me on X, so that's pretty cool with me. So, anyways, Chris Statlander advances in the tournament into the semifinals. She'll face the winner of Jamie Hayter and Billy Starks this coming Saturday on Collision. And also in that tournament, the lovely Harley Cameron will go up against the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena. The winner will face TBS Champion Mercedes Moné in the semifinals. I got a feeling it's going to be a Mercedes Moné Jamie Hayter final. Or it could be Athena or Mercedes Moné, one of those two, might end up winning the tournament because Harley Cameron, I love Harley Cameron, but she's got a lot more seasoning in the wrestling department, and I'm sure. But I think she'll get that with Athena. So, win or lose, I think she's going to get more wrestling seasoning with Athena. Or are they going to make her win to continue the storyline between her and Mercedes Moné? You know, and don't forget, Mina Shirakawa may be on her way to AEW. Who knows? Or maybe she may change her mind and go to the WWE. I don't know. Like I said, if I see Mina Shirakawa at Stand and Deliver, like in the seat, waiting, you know, sitting at ringside in the crowd during Stand and Deliver, I guarantee you that somewhere along the line, AEW may have effed up, and it could be because of the Young Bucks. Now remember too, Mariah May's in a contract year with AEW. Is Mariah May going to show up in the WWE as well? Who knows? They haven't mentioned Mariah May in quite a while, so we'll see what happens. So take everything with a grain of salt for the time being. Who knows? Don Callis addressing the Owen Hart tournament with his boys, Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita. Right now, they're the two-man team in the Don Callis family, and he said that applications are open. Spots are open. Looks like Lance Archer and Brian Cage are both hurt. And actually, they're making a movie, I do believe, fighting with Emily Blunt, I do believe. So the Undisputed Kingdom addressing Adam Cole's TNT title victory says it's going to be a new era for us, and we are the Paragon, and that's undisputed. So you got that. And then Chris Jericho addresses the Baltimore crowd with TV time with the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho. And then he brings out Big Bill and Brian Keith. And then Big Bill goes, hey, if you're upset with us, that's fine, we understand. Well, you know, he goes, that's not why I'm out here. Listen, your wins are my wins, your failures are my failures, but I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And then he smashed the TV screen. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. He smashes the TV screen again and again and again before it was teared to shreds, and he goes, I'm disappointed in you. And until you change that, I'm going to leave. And Brian Keith was like talking to him, hey man, you gotta do something, man. So walking away, because when Jericho says he lost the title, Big Bill wasn't there, but Brian Keith was. So, and then Anthony Bowens addresses Max Cass and says he's making his return. He's returned. He's back. He's a 5-tool player, and he'll be facing Blake Christian this Saturday on Collision. Meanwhile, Alicia too interviewed the Hurt Syndicate and to talk about the MJF situation, and MJF interrupts him, and it's an AB conversation. Once you see your skanky little butt out of it, I'll see you later on. Slaps her in the butt. Come on, they're dating, you know. Anyways, he demanded, do they know who I am? He said, that's it. And MVP goes, that's just it. They know who you are. That's why they don't like you. That made MJF think a little bit. If they still don't accept him, I say reform the Pinnacle with FTR. After what they did to Adam Copeland, I'm sure MJF will probably have a smile ear to ear for that. And then on the way out, Jericho smashes a crate full of drinks. And screaming, I'm disappointed. And he ends up in an SUV and then drives home. The main event, the Ops, represented by Samoa Joe and Hook, going up against the Death Riders, represented by Claudio Castagnoli, 2/3 of the Trios champions, and in this case, and Wheeler Yuta, a.k.a. Quantum Ranger on crack. And John Moxley came out and get involved during the matchup, but then Shibata gets payback and Moxley giving him a sleeper hold. And then Samoa Joe gave the coquina clutch on Castagnoli, while the Red Rum was hooked on Yuta by a hook. The Ops won the matchup, but then Marine Shafir hits Samoa Joe with a chair, and then the Death Riders attack the Ops after the matchup. And then Samoa Joe addresses the Death Riders and decide to challenge them to a trios title match. When that match is going to happen, possibly on a double or nothing, maybe? That could be where they're going. Let's see what happens. So Dynasty is over. The fallout of Dynasty, Double or Nothing is on the way. Well, that's it for this episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans 1977, 2162. Tomorrow we got some Pressure Luck. We got some Rant and Rave on 8 o'clock and some TNA Impact as well. We'll find out what's going to happen. Time will tell. Who's going to cross the line from NXT? Who knows? So, I will see you guys later. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day. And a blessed night, actually. And until the next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, please take us home. That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.